So stay with me here, friends. MJ hung it up for the second time 26 years ago today, but a player who's just getting started, who goes to Jordan's alma mater's rival. See, I told you this would be a little bit of a journey.
I got you.
It's Cooper Flagg. That's what we call a transition in TV, folks. Some would say this was a coming out party. Notre Dame and Duke here. What a day it was. Flagg here, plants his flag, hits the three. A few possessions later, another corner three.
He does everything well.
He really does. Here, once again from the outside. He's feeling it at this point. And then it was time to raise the flag if we're continuing with these
Lest you think
flag
he's just a shooter.
Exactly. Throws it down in the lane with one hand, a great cut, and a mean slam from Flagg there. He was fired up. And then later in the second here, because we've shown you the outside shot, we've shown you the slam. How about a little baseline jumper? Because he's got that too. He finished with 42 in this one. Duke gets the win, 86-78. So all of that leads to this. Cooper Flagg is the top pick in the latest ESPN mock draft. And if he continues his ascent, that feels like more of a reality as time goes on. So for more on the potential #1 overall pick in the 2025 draft, our expert Jonathan Givony joins us. And for years, there really hasn't been anyone who's covered more drafts and more prospects more closely than you do, Jonathan. So when you look at Cooper Flagg, what do you think is his best quality as a prospect?
Malika, he scored 42 points against Notre Dame, and a lot of it was off sheer will. That's what makes Cooper Flagg special. Yeah, the skill is incredible, but the competitiveness, the intensity, the aggressiveness, he has no off switch. This guy is a total ass kicker. Everything he does is full speed, 110%. He has a different mentality than most guys, and he's going to be a difference maker from day one on a bad team because it's infectious, the way that he practices and the way that he plays. Now, of course, the shooting has improved dramatically. He's averaging 24 points per game in the ACC. Over the past month, he's shooting 50% for three. And that's not to mention all the other things he does as a passer, as a defender, as a finisher, and as a defender. He's a complete player who will be a difference maker from the NBA in day one, especially on the court, but also off the court with the approach, the mentality, everything that he brings. This guy is absolutely special, Malika.
By the way, those 42 points are the most by any freshman in ACC history. That's not Michael Jordan. That's not Len Bias. It is Cooper Flagg. Jonathan, thank you so very much. We're going to start, as I mentioned, with a former Dukie, Zion Williamson. He returned from injury. It was for a grand total of 1 game, though, before he was suspended by the Pelicans for showing up late to a team flight here. He was back in the lineup yesterday to play Boston. But Ramona, how rocky right now is the relationship between Zion and the
Pelicans? I actually don't think it's rocky. I think this actually shows how healthy it is because this is not the first time he's been late, as our Shams Charania reported in this story for a team activity. And I think this is them saying, look, we are going to hold you to these standards. They're going to hold him to a standard in terms of his conditioning, in terms of the way he has to rehab on and off the court. And so I think that them saying we're going to suspend you 1 game after you come back. 1 game, and when everyone's sitting around waiting for him and he's late, for them to just say, this is how we're going to run our organization and you're going to be a part of it, I thought that shows the health of their relationship.
So we're going to chop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
I chopped it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, what about this one? To some real interesting news here. LiAngelo Ball's song, it dropped, and it took over the NBA world. And look at this. Our senior insider, Shams Charania, reported that he's now signed a deal with Def Jam and Universal Music worth as much as $13 million with $8 million guaranteed.
Somewhere LeVar is just
Brian, chop it or drop it. Do you have Tweaker on your playlist right now?
Please say yes.
Please say
congrats to LiAngelo, but we're going to drop it. Hey, I want to have some kinship. Oh, my God. I have a kinship. My son and I built this yesterday. It's falling apart.
Now it's
falling apart. I was going to brag about my son's building yesterday, but I said, no, drop it. Congrats to LiAngelo. I don't know anything about this song. Good luck to him.
No, Captain,
I think you would like it, Brian. I can see that's your kind of jam.
The Grizzlies and the Rockets. Let's move on. They face off tonight in Houston. They're currently ranked 2nd and 3rd in the standings. Houston has a 1-game lead over Memphis. Brian, I hope you have fixed your Legos by now. Who's the bigger threat to OKC in the West? Chop it or drop it.
Let's chop it. The Grizzlies are a little bit ahead of the Rockets. The Rockets are at the beginning. They're still building. The Grizzlies, remember, when they've had Ja Morant healthy and eligible, they've been the number 2 seed the last couple of times. I think what's most interesting is, will the Grizzlies look to add to this roster? They've been pretty active in trade talks over the last month or so. So no offense to the Rockets, but I think the Grizzlies are really a team to watch. They've got a shot at making some noise in the West.
They have so much depth, and their offense is historically good. Like, we think of how good Jaren Jackson Jr. is defensively, but this is a historically good offense, and they have so many weapons. Like, now we look at, the stars on this team, but Jake LaRavia and people are just coming out of anywhere for the Grizzlies, and I think that's why they're so dangerous. And as Brian mentioned, they've been there.
Right.
Several times.
Exactly. And so that experience, now they're like, okay, can we continue to build on all of this? It's going to be really interesting, though, now that we're in January, marching toward the All-Star break, to see which teams are able to separate themselves in the Western Conference and chase the Oklahoma City Thunder here. We have a top of the top for just such an occasion. It's a good countdown when Zion Williamson, with a 360 windmill, is at number 5. Ramona.
Yeah, how's that hamstring, Zion? Okay.
Oh,
Ramona.
my goodness.
God.
I know. Ramona
Look at that.
today and just chose that. But Zion also.
I mean, he's amazing. Like, there's no easing back into things.
You know who else is amazing? Monica, did you see this Kobe White dunk? And who it was on?
Who it was on is a big deal. Oh, my goodness gracious. Shout out to Stacey King, too. His call of this was hilarious.
Look out below. And then at number 3, Anthony Edwards. I'm so sorry. Anthony on Anthony here.
Yeah.
This is just, oh. And then the stare down
Sometimes you gotta
after.
make a business decision.
Yeah, I agree.
You gotta make a business decision.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, you know what? Not today. Not today. And you know when the bench is reacting like that. Number 2, it's so nice for showing
Again?
it twice. It's that good, Ramona.
It is.
Again, year 22.
That's Derek Lively there, too.
I know.
That's a good shot blocker there.
We asked him about that when he joined the show.
He didn't even put his hand up. He was like, nope.
But number 1, Trae Young.
Yeah, I probably got to give his bid.
Yeah.
Hawks don't have a timeout. Trae from midcourt to win it. Yes! He hit it!
From beyond half court, Ice Trae quiets the Jazz there. Trae Young and his Hawks, by the way, they're currently 9th in the East, but let's just take a trip, shall we? Let's go all the way up to the top of the standings. That's where the Celtics and the Cavaliers are. They were both in action last night, so we're going to pick this one up in the 4th quarter here. The Celtics down by 1 with 2:30 left in the 4th. Kristaps Porzingis, he hits Jason Tatum with the slam, a little backdoor cut there. The Celtics take a 1-point lead. And then a few possessions later, same score. DeJounte Murray gets inside, mid-range jumper, just can't quite get it to go, but the ball is batted out. Tatum on the breakaway, goes up for the dunk. Can't get it to go. This is why you have to get back. Where's the help?
1 on 3. There's 3 Pelicans there. Get the rebound.
Well,
oh, my God.
This almost cost the Celtics the game. It looks like maybe they're trying to call a timeout, but instead, it would be a 5-second violation. And Joe Mazzulla and White, they can't believe this. So now it's the Pelicans' ball. Murray gets it into C.J. McCollum. C.J. drives into the lane, throws a little floater off the rim.
Way too good of a look right there.
Can't quite get it to fall, though, Ramona. Tatum at 38 points, 11 rebounds. The Celtics inch out this win, 120-119. A frustrated Zion Williamson there. Elsewhere in the Eastern Conference, the Cavaliers and the Pacers. We're going to pick this one up halfway through the 4th. The Pacers with a 10-point lead here. Pascal Siakam kicks it out to Nembhard, who had himself a game.
I mean, he's 10 feet behind the arc there.
A couple possessions later, Siakam drives, throws up a shot, makes it, plus the foul, go on to make that 18-9. The Pacers up 18 here. This was a big bucket, though. Nembhard just all over this one. He had 19 points in the game, and the Pacers get the win 108-93 and snap the Cavs' 12-game winning streak in the process. So a lot of interesting teams here in the Eastern Conference, Brian, but if you had to pick the most dangerous of all, who would that be?
Well, look, I still have the Celtics as the favorite to win the East, and I think they've earned that. I do think the Cavs are dangerous, though, and I think what the Cavs have showed us over half the season, they are good enough to win 4 rounds of the playoffs. They've got a lot to prove, but that's really what you have to look at when you're evaluating whether a team's a contender. Can they win 16 playoff games? I think with the answer with the Cavs, I think it's yes. It will be hard. They will be the underdog, but they have put themselves in position to get home court, and they're 5.5 clear right now of the Celtics. They've only lost 5 games all year, last night notwithstanding. Who's most dangerous in mid-January? I do need to shout out the Pacers. The Pacers have won 6 games in a row. They have now moved up to number 5, and the defensive performance that they put on Cleveland yesterday is as impressive as I've seen against the Cavs all year long. Their third quarter defense, the physical nature of the way they played that game, awesome. And guess what? The Cavs now have a tremendous challenge. Yeah, they beat the Thunder last week in Cleveland. Tomorrow, return game to Indiana to rematch on that. And then Thursday, the return game to Oklahoma City. So the Cavs are doing great, but let's see how they handle this week, which ends up in Minnesota, obviously, another tough game to close that road trip.
Yeah, that's quite the schedule there. We should mention that Tyrese Halliburton, he did leave that game with a hamstring injury. Not sure how severe that is, but anytime you hear hamstring injury and Tyrese Halliburton, your antennas have to go up just a little bit. Monica, who are you looking at? I'm going to say let's put the Celtics aside. I think we can all agree the Celtics are not just dangerous, they are proven to be the best.
All right, I got to let the folks in behind the scenes a little bit. What did I say in the meeting? I said 2 teams. I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to go with right now. I said
Monica,
the Magic or the Cavs?
You said the Magic. Which,
okay,
I agree with you on both.
Yes. I agree with everything Brian said about the Cavs, but I do think that folks should keep their eyes on the Magic. Now, listen, this is a young group, but what could be out there at the trade deadline? Although I'm inclined to let this group get healthy, I don't know that you necessarily need to blow it up. But I do think the way that they defend, it's a top 5 defensive rating for this squad. Their physicality, the variety of guys that they have that are willing to just go out and play hard. Again, they've had 15 different starting lineups this year, which is not a big deal. That's about 13th in the league overall. But when you look at the top 4 teams in either conference, the only team that has held their spot and have more starting lineups is the Celtics, because they have the liberty to tinker with it in that way. So I would keep an eye on the Orlando Magic.
I was going to say the Magic too, Monica. I was letting you go the other direction because I was like, well, maybe I get to shine and say it's the Magic, because nobody likes playing this team. Like, when teams play the Magic, they come out of there with bruises. Yeah. They come, like, 2 days later, they're like, oh, gosh, that was when we played Orlando. Because that team plays hard. And you would have thought, with all the injuries they've had to Banchero and Franz Wagner and his brother, I mean, that they would fall down the standards, but they're hanging in there. And if they're able to get everybody back for the playoffs, nobody is going to want to play that young team, because they've been in the playoffs now. Jamal Mosley has been their coach the whole time. They built a really good culture in that locker room. They're all about the same age. And I think that's a scary team if you're the Celtics or the Cavs or the Knicks in the first round.